and Stacy just for putting this together. And unfortunately, it isn't a happy time that we come together for, but it's an important time. It's an important time for us as a Jewish people to recognize what we've lost and what we've gained. There was a time in history, in the times of David HaMelech, when they wanted to know the authenticity of somebody who wanted to convert to Judaism. They didn't let people convert to Judaism in those days because they weren't sure what their intentions were. If their intentions were they just wanted to join the winning team, because at that stage the Jewish people were at the height of their greatness with David HaMelech ruling over in Jerusalem, and we didn't know what people's intentions were. And then later in history, when we realized that the Jewish people aren't at that glory any longer, we take a look around the world, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like we've got that many friends that we can count upon. Maybe on one hand, perhaps Douglas Murray and Yosef Haddad and maybe a couple others around the world that are trying to illustrate what it means, the pain that the Jewish people are going through. And on the day of this tragedy, when we take a look at the responses around the world, that no one has really taken an opportunity to feel our pain. And that's because we are the ones who have to feel the pain ourselves. We don't need the world to feel the pain. There's one superpower that the Jewish people have. It's the power that surpasses any power that we have, and that we've only been able to succeed when we've tapped into this power. And unfortunately, as history has shown, the opportunities that we've had to tap into it have only been short-lived. And that superpower in Hebrew is the word that we call achdut. It is the word in English translated as unity. Unity is a nice word because we unify something, but the Jewish people are much more than a unified group of people. We are considered to be the banim of Hashem. We are the children of Hashem. We are the representation of moral clarity, moral objectivity in this world, because we are representing the creator of the universe who gave us the Torah and created a bond. He made a shavua, an oath with the Jewish people. And we said, Naasev and Ishma, we said we're going to do it without understanding. And that has been our motto, and that has been our reality over the last years, over the last 3,500 years, where the Jewish people have had to go from one land that they've been thrown out of another, until finally we land in our homeland, in Eretz Israel. And our reality as the Jewish people is never going to be a simple one. We're never going to be able to just live in Shalom Israel until the days of Mashiach. But the moments that we're living in right now is really the moments of us understanding that as a Jewish people stand together as a united group of family that are feeling the pain of our brothers and sisters. We're feeling the pain of everyone that is having to go through the difficulties of living in Eretz Israel, being bombarded with rockets, having terrorists infiltrate our borders and do the devastating deeds that they did and masquerade around in glory and taking these acts, these terrible, terrible acts, and showing them to the world and expressing how wonderful they were by doing that. And you would think that the world would stand back and say, how disgusting and terrible. And over the year, all we've seen is praise for that. Not only praise, we've seen masses come out to come and show solidarity and pain. And obviously we feel the pain of the Palestinians that are there. It's not to discount that. I want to just focus on us as a Jewish people, because that is really where we are focused, and that's what we can take responsibility for right now. And the essence of what it means to have unity means that we have to feel pain of another person. We have to understand what they're going through. We have to try to feel it really within all of us, in all of our bodies, in our souls, and think about the details and the damage that's been caused. I had the opportunity to go to Eretz Israel and to go and see the devastation that was wrought in the south of Israel. Going to Sderot, which is a ghost town. You've got these buildings that are there that are magnificent with apartments, but the roads are like basically completely deserted, like you would see in a movie. And then you go and you start to make your way around to the different places, and you go to the graveyard of the Rechavim, the cars that are going there. And you go there and you see the holes in the cars, and they've got certain of the cars that stood out during the whole thing of what was going on, and people could see what happened with the ambulance and different things, and then just this row of cars that are all just completely broken and devastated and broken and everything, and you go there and just see this memorial. And then you finally make your way, after you go to some of the kibbutzim, if you're able to go and see the devastation there and what happened on that day, and you finally make your way to the Nova Festival, and you go to this piece of land. And when I went there personally, I felt that there was a holiness there. I've been to Uman before, where there were people who, on the place where Rabbi Nachman was buried, there were approximately 40,000 people that were killed because they were Jewish, and they died what's called Al-Kiddush Hashem, at the mercy of those that hated us. And he was buried there, and it attracts millions of people because he recognized that place where people have self-sacrifice, that is a place of holiness. And you go there and you feel it when you arrive there, and you see these flags, and you see this pain, and you see the people that have visited each and every one of these human beings and what they've gone through, and the families that have had to go there. And I go there and I'm walking around and I'm feeling extremely emotional and seeing this and reading the stories. And I see a lady over there that's there with her mother, and she's coming there, and she's basically said that my father and I were at the concert together, and I made it and he didn't make it. And they were there seeing, the father and a flag of him, and just how much that impacted them and their lives. And I was there with my Rebbe, Rabbi Berkowitz, with our kollel. We went and we spent this time together, and we went into a tent at the back of it where they were writing a Sefer Torah for the upliftment of all of the neshamas of everyone that had perished, and all the difficulties, and the people that were there, and everyone could go and they could write it with a Sefer, their own letter in the Sefer Torah. And we all had a chance to be able to do that, and we stood in this tent and we started singing together. There was a group of maybe 60 of us, and we started singing. And we started singing Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, that we are the brothers of the Jewish people. And we started going through all these songs and singing, and it got louder and louder and more powerful. And we must have been there for over an hour, singing together, arm in arm, crying, feeling the pain, feeling of what the Jewish people had to go through. And it was a feeling that I had of tremendous unity and clarity at that moment, of realizing that only when we can feel the pain of the rest of the Jewish people and feel this as ourselves as we've gone through it, only then are we going to be able to really unite and to be overcome the evil and the ra that exists in this world. Because that's what Hashem is telling us. He's saying, don't you guys get it? I just want you to be united, and I want you to be connected, and I want you to be part of one family and one nation. Because we are called Arevim Zebazeh. We aren't people that exist just in a vacuum. You can go to any country in the world, and you can walk into shul, and you'll know where they are, and it will be the same Kabbalat Shabbat, and it might be a bit different if it's this nusach or that nusach, but we know what it feels like to come into a shul, and it feels like home, because the Beit HaKnesset and the Batei Madrashim these days are a bechina, a little part of Eretz Yisrael. Because Eretz Yisrael is part of who we are. We can't separate ourselves from it. It's not like, there was a land, and then we, connected ourselves and we became a nation in Uganda, because the Jewish people have held on to that heritage that Hashem has promised us, to our forefathers, to Abraham, Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, and to all the people that hold that throughout the generations. We have always had people in Eretz Israel. We've always been there. We've never ever left it, because that is where we are meant to be. We might be here for short periods of time, but we know that our heart, we know that our soul, we know that our brothers and sisters are all there. And they're all fighting the fight for us while we're sitting and enjoying our life where we are. And we have to recognize what that is like, to give up your time and your family, and to give up the moments where you actually don't know what's going to be, because we don't know. But the only thing that we do know is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, and He wants us to succeed, and He wants us to be able to be united as a Jewish nation. And so on this day, this tragic day that happened a year ago, the things that were difficult and the losses that we went through and the destruction that we saw, that we haven't seen since the Holocaust, showed us a certain aspect of what our enemies are capable of doing, and what they continue to do so on a daily basis throughout this whole year. The one thing is for sure, is that we are united. We might have some technology that helps us to be able to overcome those difficulties that we have with our enemies, but the only iron dome that we really have is the creator of the universe, who is our Father, Avinu Malkeinu. We don't say He's Malkeinu Avinu, He is our Father, and then He's our King. And that's what makes us into a different nation. That is why Hashem made a bris with us, and He gave us the Torah, and He said, please go and make sure that you run with this banner and hold it tight, and make sure that you represent me in this world. And so that's our opportunity as a community here in Plett, which reaches out to the greater community of South Africa, the greater community of the world, and it gives us an opportunity, every one of us, to reach into our hearts and realize that we are part of this. And if we daven to Hashem and we take on extra mitzvahs and we take on things in the schus of Hashem bringing back our hostages now, then that is really the power that we have. Unite ourselves to the fact that we have a creator in this universe who only wants good for us, and that we want to share in His glory, and we want to be part of what He has in the world. But we have to also do our part, and that's our part. Unify ourselves to the people around us, do goodness for them, care for them, and make sure that we daven to our Creator, make sure that we are doing what we are meant to be doing, that we are representation of being the partners in creation that He wants us to be. And when we do that, we will be able to see, please God, soon in our days, the end of all our sadness, with the coming of Mashiach, where we'll be able to bask in the glory as they did in the days of David HaMelech. And please God, it should happen soon in our days. Just to, before we're going to Daven Ma'ariv, we just wanted to have an opportunity to share from live experience.